Alrighty, welcome back to another Wisco Fanatics Wednesday. Be sure to check out, if you are getting ready for the upcoming NFL draft, be sure to check out our draft series that we've been doing on Tuesday nights. Last night we covered cornerbacks, so go back and check that out. Today we are covering the last week of Milwaukee Bucks games of their regular season and their upcoming matchup with the Indiana Pacers. And we are covering the last week worth of Milwaukee Brewers games, which covers 8 games in the last week. We had a late Wednesday night game last week and an early Wednesday afternoon game this week. So 3 Bucks games and a preview of the playoff series with the Pacers and 8 Milwaukee Brewers games to go. So let's get into it.
Welcome to another live episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we discuss the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, Badgers football, and basketball from an optimistic perspective. Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
Alrighty, so as I said, 3 Milwaukee Bucks games in the last week. Honestly, there's not a ton of takeaways that I have from the Pelicans game and the second Pistons game, with that middle one being the most important game over the last week. And then we're going to focus a little bit more heavily on the upcoming playoff matchup with the Pacers. But let's start with the Bucks and Pelicans game from last week. What did you take away from that one?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Not much to talk about with this one. We start with 2 things. First of all, sadly, Giannis couldn't extend his triple doubles to 4 straight games. I guess we'll have to settle for 3 straight. Also have to settle for him scoring 28 points, grabbing 11 rebounds and 5 assists in just 26 minutes of work. Oh man, what a shame! My God, the efficiency is insane. Bucks obviously ended up winning this one. They got up to 6 straight W's now. Kuzma played really, really good in this one. He was super efficient. Gary Trent Jr. was a vital part of this game. The Bucks had the lead 89-80 at the end of the third, and Gary Trent was a big part of a 9-1 run that ended that third quarter that really pushed the lead to something where the New Orleans Pelicans weren't going to be able to come back from. They just didn't have the players, to make that comeback. In saying that, I do want to give credit to somebody that I texted you about, Lester Quinones. He's a good player. He made, and you made a great point. He made some tough shots in the first matchup. He was making some tough shots in this matchup. Yep. I think he has a chance to be a decent NBA player. Carved out a pretty good career. He's quick, good ball handler, good touch from outside. So just wanted to give him a shout out because I know that it's something that he's working towards and his dream. Kevin Porter Jr. back on the Bucks train here, 20 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. He continues his hot end to the season as he's really picked it up over the last couple of weeks, which has allowed the Bucks to kind of go on this run. Him, Gary Trent, AJ Green, all guys who have really picked it up along with Giannis, who just seems to have a never-ending notch. Like he turned it up a notch. He turned it up a notch. How many times can a guy turn it up a freaking notch, dude?
There's a lot of people talking about if Giannis is going to have a LeBron 2018 postseason run this year. It's like, I can't wait to find out.
You know what? Now that you brought it up, because I was going to bring it up after the second Pistons.
We can put a pin in it.
Okay, because I have some thoughts on it. I really do.
All right.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for the Bucks Pelicans game. It's good that they got the lead up where Giannis could rest because obviously they played a back-to-back and there was an important game in Detroit the next day after this.
Yep. All right. I put a note down to talk about it in the playoffs discussion. Yes, several starters did leave the game early to get ready to go play in Detroit. The couple things that really stood out to me, the Bucks shot the 3-ball well. They didn't turn the ball over a ton. They were okay with points off turnovers. They only allowed 5 in the second half, so they did clean it up. My main couple things were, I think this was the best example of what Kyle Kuzma's ideal role is with the Bucks. Him playing the 3 out on the perimeter, and then when Giannis goes out, he assumes essentially Giannis's role of attacking the basket. That, I think, is the best way to use Kyle Kuzma. We'll have conversations in the offseason about what they should do with him, but I think that's the best example of his ideal role with Milwaukee. So that was the main thing that I took away from the actual game itself. It was good to see Bobby get himself going in the second half a little bit, and then starting the fourth quarter on an AO run. and just kind of, icing the game from that point on. The other thing, this isn't necessarily an on-the-court thing, but I love seeing Damian Lillard hyping up his teammates from the bench.
Yeah, dude. The shadow boxing with KPJ, bro.
Dude, Damian Lillard looks happy to be here.
Yeah, he does.
That's a big deal in my mind.
Yeah.
Especially for a guy who is working to try to get, we'll talk about this too when we get to the Pacers thing, but a guy who's working to try to get available to be in good spirits mentally and feeling good that way and being happy to be around his teammates and cheering for his teammates. That's a boost.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not a measurable boost, but I promise you it's a boost. So I like seeing that from Damian Lillard, and I'm glad he can travel with the team.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's go. Bucks and Pistons. This is the most important game of the week. So this was the back-to-back. They went Thursday, Friday from Milwaukee to Detroit. This was the second of the back-to-back playing at Detroit, and essentially the Bucks needed to win one of the two to get the 5 seed, and the Pistons needed to win both. So this game was essentially do or die for the Pistons, and it would clinch the 5 seed for the Bucks. So let's go to the second last game of the season, and what stood out to you from the Friday night Bucks and Pistons game?
Yeah, so coincidentally, as the Bucks are trying to guarantee themselves the 5 seed, it also felt like over the last couple days of the NBA regular season that the Pacers are kind of trying to set themselves up to be the 4 seed. Like they're kind of asking for the Bucks, in my opinion, because they did have an opportunity to move up to the 3 seed and take over the Knicks spot. It was a slight chance, but they did have a chance. So with that being said, they're going to have to deal with a guy who now, after this game against the Pistons, had a triple-double in 4 of his last 5. So, I mean, it's pretty good. His 11th triple-double, new career high for him, so congrats to him. 32, 11, and 15. I mean,
also stealing 2 blocks.
Yeah. The assist numbers for this guy, God, I really want to get into my thoughts. He just does such a nice job of knowing when to attack, knowing when to get his teammates involved, still rebounding the ball, still playing elite defense. I mean, he is hitting every single correct option. Like, imagine you're playing a video game and you have to hit a series of buttons. And if you mess up one button, you have to start all over. Giannis is not missing a button right now. He's hitting everything correctly. He is unbelievable right now. Got to talk about TP and Kuz. Both of them made some big-time three-pointers in this game, both 3 for 5 from behind the three-point line. A lot of talk about those two over the last couple of weeks, but they made big-time shots, and this was a big-time game, a road game. Pistons are tough. I'll have some thoughts on that at the end of this game, how tough they are. Bobby Portis was 17 and 10. He made some big-time shots. Since he's come back, he's done nothing but be a really good veteran presence, a leader in the locker room, which we already knew he was. He's making jump shots. He's rebounding the basketball. He's hustling back on defense. There's a couple times where I noticed over the last couple of weeks where Brook Lopez, would be down low taking a shot, and he'd be calling out, hey, Bobby, and Bobby's hustling back, and he's running back and being the first one back on defense. And that's a big thing to see when you're a team trying to gear up. And this team still has championship aspirations. Don't get it twisted. I don't care if they're the 5 seed. We got one of the fucking best players in the world. And
Miami made finals as an 8 seed a couple years ago. There's nothing out of the realm of possibility at this point.
Exactly. So Kevin Porter Jr., big again. I know he wasn't as efficient from the field as we've seen him be, but he made timely passes. He had a really, really nice sequence with Giannis where had a couple of assists to Giannis, and one of them was a lob pass that Giannis ended up dunking backwards, and I was like, God, he just makes everything look so easy. It's incredible. I'm gonna let you go, and then I hope that we talk about Malik being in his feelings here.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Okay. AJ Green was also 3 for 5 on threes. He had a couple opportunities in the fourth quarter to hit like massive threes that would have put the Bucks up in that like 10 to 11 to 12 range. He had 2 tries, couldn't knock them down, hit the third one. It was good to see AJ Green knock down that clutch 3. His 3-point shooting towards the end of the season really, really ticked up. So that's really good to see going into the playoffs. The team as a whole, 17 of 39 on threes. That's 43.6%. That's very good. Very good to see again heading into the playoffs. Only 7 turnovers in this game. Only allowed 3 points off turnovers. That's beautiful. That is great work. That is excellent. These are all good things to be saying going into the playoffs. Now, one thing that I hope doesn't continue from the playoffs is very, very inconsistent officiating.
Yeah.
This game, the first and the fourth quarter, nothing was getting called. Nothing was a foul. And then in the second and third quarter, everything was a foul.
That's fair.
So I hope that that's not the case when we get into the playoffs. It usually tends to be they let guys play a little bit more, which I like.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the way I like it to be, is make the game more about the players than the whistles. So
Mm-hmm.
I do appreciate that. I hope that that's the case for the playoffs. Now, you mentioned individually Kevin Porter Jr., Bobby Portis. We talked about Giannis and AJ Green, obviously. Gary Trent Jr., that dude plays hard. That dude wants to win. You can tell he's been a guy who's, just gotten to shoot basically the ultra green light for a long time. He looks like a guy who wants to win a championship.
Yeah.
So he's going to play a lot, obviously, in the playoffs. But seeing the fourth quarter group of Kevin Porter Jr., Gary Trent Jr., AJ Green, Giannis, and Bobby Portis, that group was extremely effective in the fourth quarter again, similarly to how they were in the Minnesota game the week before. So even if there's a starting lineup of Ryan Rollins, Taurean Prince, Kuzma, Giannis, and Brook, which it's probably going to be something like that. It might be Kevin Porter Jr. instead of Rollins, but these are probably the 4 guys that are going to be playing the most in the fourth quarter if the game's close.
Yeah.
So, we'll see how it goes, but I think people are getting a little bit too much invested in what the starting lineup looks like and not actually caring enough about who's playing in crunch time, because you don't have to start to be playing in the clutch.
Manu Ginobili.
Yeah.
Dude was literally a career 6-man and one of the most clutch players of all time.
Yeah. So I think those two things aren't exclusive. You don't have to be a starter to be playing at the end of the game.
Agreed.
And you don't have to be, your end of the game players don't have to be your starters.
Mm-hmm.
So you talked about Giannis. I think if the if the Pistons don't shoot almost 50% from the 3, the Bucks probably win this game by like 15.
Sure.
And the last thing, so we talked about this. So obviously Giannis gets the block on Malik Beasley, and Giannis hits the shimmy on him. He's joking around with him. The thing that led to this is like the possession before, Malik Beasley came off of a screen and AJ Green was the one contesting the shot, and he was coming off the screen knowing he was shooting it no matter what was happening, and he shot it and he made it. He was trying to do the same thing, only this time when he turned around to shoot, it was Giannis standing there and not AJ Green. So it was basically like he already had it predetermined in his mind that he was going to shoot, and when he went up, Giannis blocked a shot and then was messing with him.
Mm-hmm. You there, buddy? Oh, Tyler might be lagging out here.
I'm good. I'm back.
Okay.
My thing with Malik Beasley is you got to lighten up.
Yeah.
If you're gonna talk to the bench the entire game, you got to be able to take some talk back to you. That's, dude. Like, imagine, like, you just got to take it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even have to be joking with Giannis about it, but don't be slapping his hands out of the way because he got you.
Yeah, and
everybody in the NBA gets people, and everybody gets got. You're talking about the best 450 basketball players in the world. Everybody's been the most talented everywhere they've been up to this point. You're gonna hit threes, and you're gonna shimmy in front of your opponent's bench and talk shit to him as you're running back on defense. You can't get mad and throw a temper tantrum because he got you back. That's so soft, dude. I want a little bit of respect for him.
I agree. If you could talk the talk, you better be able to walk the walk. If you're going to have a celebration where it's as crazy as that, like shaking your hips after a three-pointer, and like you said, you do it right in front of the opposing team's bench, you do it on the road. We loved it last year when he was doing it. He had a big-time game against Toronto, I remember, where he made 5 threes in the first half. Yeah, and he was doing it right in front of the fans and talking to them directly. It's yeah, dude, that feeling feels good. But just know that in life, you're going to get humbled.
Yeah.
Take it on the chin. Take it like a man. You know what? You could have had your teammates help you up. You could have, you know how he could have handled this? He could have got up, slapped Giannis on the chest a couple of times, said, "Hey, you got me," moved on. Wouldn't have even have been a story.
Yep.
But the fact that you acted the way that you did, the way that you reacted to Giannis trying to joke around with you, is why it became something when it didn't have to be. You made it something, and you tried to play victim in a situation where you just got owned. Honestly, it is what it is. Giannis is 7 feet tall. He literally dunks on everybody. But you know what? Giannis tries to block every shot too, and sometimes he gets dunked on.
Yep.
Does Giannis act like a giant baby afterwards? No, he literally goes to the presser and he jokes about it. I mean, we're going to talk about the playoffs, but he was literally joking about first playoff games, talking about how he got kicked out of his first one. Like, Giannis knows how to deal with stuff, dude. Malik Beasley clearly has to grow up and learn how to deal with adversity.
Yeah. That's it's if you're going to dish it, you got to be able to take it.
Agreed.
All right. Let's go to the final game of the regular season, the most obvious 40-point game that we could ever see coming. So let's start talking about this game. Now, I want to say something because naturally you see that Brooke and Giannis and Gary Trent Jr. guys aren't playing in this game, except Kuzma is. And people are like, oh, that must say a lot about what they think about Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma asked Doc Rivers to play one quarter.
Yeah.
And he played one quarter.
Yeah.
And he went off in his one quarter.
Then
he went and got in his street clothes.
Yep.
He played one quarter. And it might have been his best quarter as a Buck.
It was definitely his best quarter as a Buck.
For him hitting sidestep threes and 32-footers and shit. Dude, that's what you're sending him into the playoffs on? An 8 for 10 field goal shooting, 5 for 7 3-point shooting quarter to hit 22 points in the first quarter. That's what you're sending him into the playoffs on.
You know the vibes are good when the guy hits the heat check. That's all I'm going to say. When he takes the heat check and he hits it, it's over with.
He hit like 3 heat checks in that quarter. Like I said, and that's how you're sending him into the playoffs. That was his last quarter of basketball before the playoffs.
That's very true.
And, dude, the Pistons were playing some of their starters, too. Like, Cade didn't play, but Duran played. Malik Beasley played. Yep. Thompson played. Like, they had starters in there. Tobias Harris played.
Yep.
They had starters in there. So it's not like he's just scoring against the Pelicans.
Yeah.
So I loved seeing some Tyler Smith minutes. I saw a couple people bring it up like, oh, this guy, why hasn't he been playing all season? He had an ankle injury. He hasn't played in a couple weeks because he had an ankle injury. That's literally like he wasn't even available to be playing. I will say this was the way that we did this when we did the draft last year, and Tyler Smith was my top guy in this category. Tyler Smith is still not a Brook Lopez replacement. If Tyler Smith is going to be worked on as a prospect, he's going to be a Bobby Portis replacement.
That's fair.
That's how we viewed this. We had a category of potential Bobby Portis replacements, and Tyler Smith was at the top of my list for that. You hear during the broadcast he's being compared to Chris Bosh a lot, and I can see it. He's a little bit more of a finesse type power forward than a physicality type guy, which is how Chris Bosh was, and a guy that can space the floor a little bit with his shooting. Did hit 3 threes in a row, which was good to see from Tyler Smith. Looking at Chris Livingston, I still think he's a guy that I think can grow into a solid rotational player. And honestly, I think he can be similar to Kevin Porter Jr., just maybe not as good of a ball handler. That's kind of how I view Chris Livingston. But for Tyler Smith, he was 6 of 9 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3, 4 for 4 from the free throw line, had 4 rebounds, a steal, and a block. I like what I saw from the young guys. So Tyler Smith and Chris Livingston, even though they spent a lot of their time with the Herd this year, I do still think they are future rotational pieces.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about Chris Livingston before. I like he has an NBA body. Mm-hmm. He just needs to get a little bit better handle and a little bit better contact, being able to finish through contact. And I think he has a future in the NBA. In terms of Tyler Smith, great touch from outside. Love it. If he keeps developing as a defender, he needs to get a little bit better on team and individual defense.
For sure.
But if he can get that, I think he has a chance. I also would like him, because he is so good from outside and people are going to be closing out hard, get a pump fake, maybe just take one dribble, pull up from mid-range, or if you can go all the way to the rim, finish with a layup. Just give it a side step. Pump fake. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I want. Defense and a pump fake, and he'll be fine.
Yeah.
He doesn't even need a low post game or anything like that. With how the game is played today.
Chris Bosh never did.
Yeah, I mean, early days he was okay, but
yeah.
But yeah, that's all I want from him. In terms of Kuz, I mean, God, the guy was just going insane. He made the first one, and I was like, oh shit, okay. And then he made the second one, I was like, oh shit, okay. And then he missed a couple. He ended up missing a couple eventually, but dude, that 32-footer, I was like, dog, he's not pulling this. And then he shot it and made it. And man, I'm about to burn the Wizards, and I'm so sorry about this, but he was probably comfortable out there playing with all the Bucks backups because that's what the starting lineup in the Wizards was. Like, no offense to anybody, but he was playing with a bunch of two-way players and young guys, and
that's funny.
It is what it is. We got to talk about Pat Connaughton, man.
Yeah, I was leaving it to the end.
Yeah.
He was hooping, bro.
I'm gonna say this first. I'm gonna get serious. I put the notebook down. We told y'all to stop disrespecting our boy. Do not disrespect my boy, Pat Connaughton. 43 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. I wrote down, dog had his Matt Flynn moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, his previous career high was 30 versus the Pelicans in 2022. I got that from ChatGPT. I don't know how accurate that is, but that's what ChatGPT told me. But 43, 11, and 5. I mean, that's insane. 5 3-pointers. He was everywhere, dude. He joins a short list of people that have 40, 10, and 5 in Milwaukee Bucks history. I know you have it.
4 people.
Let them know. Let them know.
It was obviously Kareem, obviously Giannis.
Yep.
2 other players have done it one time.
Well,
obviously
Chris Middleton.
now,
I know Chris Middleton.
And Chris Middleton.
Yeah.
Pat Connaughton and Chris Middleton have both done it once. So,
dude looked like Chris Middleton, to be honest with you.
If he hit some more mid-range, I would agree.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I made this post. You can call Pat Connaughton trash all you want. He will dominate every single person you have ever played basketball with or against in your entire life. There's seriously, people do not understand the level of basketball that is being played in the NBA.
It's insane.
And again, call people trash all you want. You can hear stories on stories on stories of the 14th, 15th guys on the end of NBA benches who show up to open runs and just cook every single player in the gym on every single position.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. Josh said Pat's a dog. He absolutely is. He's always been a dirty work guy, which is what we love about certain basketball players. Like, I would put Pat Connaughton in a similar basket as like a Carter Gilmore. That's why we like those guys, because they're dirty work guys. Yeah. So that's why we like guys like Pat Connaughton. And Wes got to my next point. I'm going to hold firm. I will double/triple down that if Damian Lillard is not available to play against the Pacers, Pat Connaughton's going to see playoff minutes.
Dude, we were talking about it. He was doing a good job driving. He was doing a good job driving, getting 2 feet in the paint, and causing havoc. That's what he does.
And he was creating for others.
Yes. Pat Connaughton could still ball. We knew that the whole time.
Yeah, he could have had probably like 8 or 9 assists in this game too if guys hit some shots.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, he was huge in our chip run. He made some. I will never forget during the Nets series some of the clutch threes that he made, dude.
Yeah.
I'm still, like, we had this conversation at the trade deadline. If Pat and Bobby are still here, we're okay with it.
100%.
And that's a great confidence builder to send him into the playoffs on a 43-point game.
Yeah, dude, seriously. That's the guy that didn't play all year long, and he just dropped 40 in a game, bro.
Yeah.
Think about the NBA. That's crazy.
Yeah. So this is the position we're in now, because it feels like the NBA season went by pretty quick.
It does feel like that.
You think about it, it doesn't feel like that long ago in November that the Bucks started 2-9.
Yeah.
They were 7 games under 500, and they finished 14 games over 500.
Yeah.
That's a 21-game swing from where they started to where they ended. And there's there's a lot to be said for how people acted during those first 11 games and freaked out, called the season over, called, the fire everybody, trade everybody thing. And none of that was done here.
There's another Milwaukee team that people could probably take some notes over to their season, with how they're starting their season as well. But we'll talk about them after we get done with the Milwaukee Bucks.
So this last week and the last 2 weeks of the season, the Bucks ended on an 8-game winning streak heading into the playoffs. The Bucks are hot.
Mm-hmm.
The Bucks are hot. You talked about Giannis having 4 double or triple doubles in the last 5 games of the season. Kyle Kuzma went crazy in his final quarter. Kevin Porter Jr., fourth quarter Porter, going crazy. I mean, even Brook Lopez, not to the degree, but I think he was playing pretty good defense towards the end of the season.
He was. Positionally, he was very good.
AJ Green, hot.
Yes.
Gary Trent Jr., dog.
Oh, I love that guy, dude.
Even Ryan Rollins quietly, we brought up his numbers last week for him filling in for Dame. We looked at him and Kevin Porter Jr.'s numbers in Damian Lillard's absence. Ryan Rollins is doing his job.
He sure is.
And now Jericho Sims might be back. Damian Lillard, I still leaning towards probably the second round, but able to travel with the team.
Yeah.
And like I said, we talked about the boost that he gives on the bench by being there to hype his teammates up. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And are we going to get the Giannis 2018 LeBron run?
So obviously it's been growing like wildfire all over social media. And if anybody's ever known me, they know that I'm a big LeBron fan. I like his game. I'm one of those people, same thing with Rodgers. I could separate the off the court with the on the court or on the field, off the field kind of thing. And LeBron's game style, I've always liked. Now people are going to be like, oh, you like the flopping? No, I like that he's able to score and set other people up. He plays defense. I like players that kind of do it all. And this version of Giannis, now I'm comparing him to 2018 LeBron. And what I saw from 2018 LeBron was a guy who was still at his physical peak, also meeting the basketball IQ. So everything is matching up perfectly, where Giannis is still athletic enough where he can still do the quick spin moves. He can still Euro step. He's still super strong. His body hasn't gotten slowed down. And his basketball IQ has just been growing along with it. And we've talked about this for a couple of years now where we're like, oh my God, Giannis is getting smarter. You see that pass he made? He's seeing the floor better. He's seeing the floor better. And now it's finally at its peak. And that's what we're seeing from Giannis.
So the way that you're describing it, the way that I'm hearing it is we are seeing the smartest version of Giannis while also still being the physically dominant version.
Yes. So
I like it.
We talked last night actually about, players being good athletes versus players being good football players. You could say that with any sport, right? And we're going to talk about baseball here in a second. There's a lot of pitchers, and I believe Murphy actually said this last week, where he said that there's a lot of chuckers and there's not a lot of pitchers anymore. And you could use that in basketball, right? There's a lot of great athletes in the NBA. There's not a lot of great basketball players in the NBA. And that's why people get nostalgic about people like Carmelo Anthony, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Hakeem, people like that who had the footwork and worked on craft. They weren't just athletic freaks. Yeah, where Giannis, obviously, when he came in, was an 18-year-old raw kid who, could just jump and run and do all these things. And obviously then he put on the 50 pounds of muscle and we see him grow into this gigantic human being. We're like, yeah, dude, he's really fun to watch. And now the basketball IQ is kind of caught up with him. And he is he's amazing, dude. I'm so excited for this playoffs, dude. The Pacers are about to eat some humble pie, bro.
So the thing is, the Pacers are, oh yeah, we owned the Bucks last year. You didn't have Giannis last year. You haven't seen playoff Giannis. No, Pacers fans, since you are back in the playoffs, you haven't seen playoff Giannis.
Yeah.
We haven't seen playoff Giannis since 2022.
Oh, dude, I'm so ready. So ready.
We haven't seen playoff Giannis since the Bucks got eliminated by the Celtics in the second round when Giannis was carrying everybody.
Seriously, he was carrying the Celtics in some of the games. He was so damn good.
Dude, he took the Celtics to 7 by himself.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, look at Drew and Bobby and Brooks' numbers during that series.
Yeah.
Giannis was doing that by himself.
Yeah.
So, Pacers fans are not ready for playoff Giannis.
Mm-mm.
And towards the end of the season, he was talking about it. He was having fun. Giannis having fun on the basketball court looks like triple doubles in 80% of his games while playing defense.
Oh, man.
So Jake's got the individual numbers. I have the team numbers. I'll let you give the individual first, and then I'll give the team numbers as a whole second for the Bucks and the Pacers. So kick off the individuals.
Yeah, so I wrote down the number of games they all played as well. So Giannis played all 4 games versus the Pacers. He averaged 29.5, 12.3, 7.5 assists, 1.3 steals, and 1.3 blocks. Yeah, he's pretty good. And that, honestly, when you hear those numbers, that's lower than his average the last 2 years versus the Pacers. So better buckle up.
Having a 63-point game in there will help.
Yeah. He shot 65% from the field, 72% from the free throw line. He was plus 40. Brook Lopez played all 4 games. He averaged 15, 4.8, and 2 assists. He had 2 total blocks. He doesn't get a lot of blocks because he gets pulled out of the paint a lot by Miles Turner. So if people are wondering.
Or Pascal Siakam.
Yeah, or Siakam. He shot 69% from the field.
Nice.
100% from the free throw line. And 36.4% from the three-point line. He was plus 0, actually. So he had 1 game where he was really bad and it kind of brought his numbers down. Bobby Portis only played 2 games against the Pacers. He averaged 15.5, 11 and 2, averaged 1.5 steals. He shot 50%, 2 for 2 from the free throw line, 50% from 3. He was 3 for 6, and he's plus 21. People talk shit about Bobby Portis, plus 21 in those 2 games. Gary Trent Jr. played all 4, 13.5 points, 2.3 rebounds, 1.3 assists, 54% from the field. He didn't shoot a free throw because he never goes to the line. So he goes to one line. He doesn't go to the other line. He shot 59% from 3, 16 of 27. That is insane. And he was plus 26. Kevin Porter Jr., he technically played in 2 games, but he didn't play much in the first one. 41.7%, 13 of 14 from the free throw line, so that's 92%, very good. 2 for 6 from the three-point line, so that's 1 for 3, 33%. He was plus 7. Kuzma played 4 games total, but one of them was with the Wizards, so I just took all of his total stats.
Sure.
9 points, 4 rebounds, an assist, a steal. He had 3 steals in his last game versus Indy, so I wanted to write that down because maybe he learned something from film or something like that. 43% from the field, 1 for 2 from the free throw line, 0 for 7 from 3. He did end up being, remember, he's on the Wizards. He was minus 43 overall in the season, but his last game, he was only minus 5. So, he got better every single game. AJ Green played 4 games, 6.5, 1.8, and 2 assists. 36% from the field, 0 for 1 from the free throw, and 8 for 23 from the three-point line. They didn't even have to deal with AJ Green this year, dude.
Yeah.
He's on fire right now. So I'm taking this all away as a positive, by the way, because AJ Green could absolutely be a series flipper if he turns it on like he was the last couple of weeks. Ryan Rollins, this one's going to be real quick. He played 1 minute. He played 1 total minute versus the Pacers this year. Taurean Prince, 4 games. He averaged 13.5, 3.5, 2 assists, 2.3 steals per game, 55% from the field, 4 for 7 from the free throw line, 10 for 19 from the three-point line. So he shot 52.6%, and he was plus 44. He has the highest plus-minus of any Buck versus the Pacers this year. So Taurean Prince, AJ Green, those are all going to be big-time guys. Gary Trent Jr., if these guys are hitting threes and Giannis is going to the paint, it's going to be hard for them to stop us.
Yeah. Dan, welcome back. So I have the team numbers. So the Bucks were 3-1. Taylor, welcome back as well. The Bucks were 3-1 against the Pacers this year. They won by an average of 6.5 points. Obviously, the only one that they lost was the weird ending game with Tyrese Halliburton. Now, looking at the Bucks against the Pacers this year, they averaged 122.3 points, 46 rebounds, 30 assists, 15.5 turnovers, 8.3 steals, and 2.5 blocks. They shot 51.1% from the field, 40.8% from the three-point line, and 82% from the free throw line. Now, the Bucks allowed to the Pacers an average of 115.8 points, 41.5 rebounds, 28.8 assists, 14 turnovers, 9.8 steals, 5 blocks, 47.5% from the field, 35.3% from the three-point line, and 71.6% from the free throw line. Taylor, you're one of the A1s from the day ones. So the Bucks, more points, more rebounds, more assists, 1.5 more turnovers, 1.5 fewer steals. That's where that adds in. Fewer blocks, but higher field goal percentage, higher three-point percentage, higher free throw percentage. The Bucks head-to-head, they've had the Pacers number this year.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of one crazy buzzer beater,
Yep.
it's I'm not to say that I'm not worried, because the Pacers are a good team.
Yep.
But this is not like the Pacers series to lose. This is a pretty evenly matched series, and what it comes down to, the Bucks have the best player in the series.
Yeah.
And that player owns your franchise.
Well, also, everybody's talking about the speed of the Pacers, right? And rightfully so, because they play to their namesake. I will say that. So credit to them for that.
Yeah.
It's not going 7.
It's not going 7. I have
everybody's talking about
what I think is going to happen.
We've talked about this how many times? It's Bucks and 5, dude. Giannis is if you're not doing anything on noon on Saturday, you better buckle up, because I have a bold prediction about that game. I think Giannis is going for 50, bro.
I can see it.
I literally think he's going to come into this series. God, just changed my whole train of thought. Kevin Porter Jr., Ryan Rollins. I mean, those are two guys who were playing their first playoff games. AJ Green, he got some experience last year. I mean, dude, Giannis is going to come out and be like, all right, guys, listen, I'm Giannis. You guys shoot the ball over there. You run back on defense. I'll score the goddamn ball. Get on. I really think that he's about to go nuts. Like, it's activated now. It's not talking about going. It's playoffs now. Giannis is activating, and he's an all-time great. And he's been talking a lot last couple of weeks about how he wants that second title, and he's letting his team down. He's letting himself down if he doesn't get that second title. He was just talking about it on Thanasis.
Yeah.
Or Thanalysis. And he says
that
he wants a second title.
Going into the playoffs healthy.
Yeah, he's going for 50 on Saturday, dude.
Taylor said Bucks game at noon, then night one of WrestleMania, so it'll be a fun Saturday. I'm glad you'll have fun. I'll be watching the Bucks, then playing my own basketball game. But
I will not be playing basketball, but I'll be hoping that you go 2-0 on the day, buddy. But the thing I was going to say before I had to respond to Wes, respectfully, people are still thinking of this Bucks team as the team that played them last year and the team that played them early in the season, where they were a little bit older and they had heavier legs. We got young guys now that will get back on defense. Yeah. And we talked about it a couple of weeks ago when, the transition defense was kind of taking a dip, when Doc made comments about how it was a problem, and then they fixed it, and it became a problem again. I think they fixed it again. I mean, and if they could cut down on the stupid turnovers, if they just control the stupid turnovers and get back on defense, they're smacking the hell out of them, dude.
Oh yeah,
that's it.
It was during the 4-game losing streak that they were talking about not being entirely mentally focused, and that's when they were having the lack of transition defense, and then they locked in.
Yeah,
and they won 8 in a row to end the regular season. So we talk about it so much in series-based playoff games, whether it's NBA or MLB. Getting hot going into the playoffs is an important thing. Mm-hmm. And the Bucks ended the regular season hot. So I feel good.
Yeah.
And we have Giannis. So I feel great.
Yeah. That helps too. 34
it helps a lot.
He doesn't disappoint. I'll say that much, man. He does not disappoint.
Yeah. So, anything else you want to say about the Bucks? We'll probably put about a little bit of content in between each of the games as the games go on, as the series goes on. We'll try to ramp up our content a little bit during the playoffs because it's more important than the regular season. But anything else you want to say on the Bucks?
No, Nah, Bucks in 5 for this round. That's all I got, man.
I agree. Bucks in 5. So now we're gonna switch over to the baseball side of it. Now we have eight Brewer games to run through, and I have some games that I have more takeaways than others. But let's start. So last Wednesday, before after the show ended, the Brewers played a game. So they played last Wednesday, and then they played all the way through today. That's what they played already today, through today. So 8 games. So let's start with the second game of the Rockies series. Give me your takeaways from that.
Yeah, so it feels like all the scoring happened for the week in this one game because they just got to score 17 freaking runs. Insanity. So let's just get into it, huh? So Alexander started this game 3 2/3, six hits, 2 earned runs, and 3 Ks, and 1 nasty behind the back catch.
Dude,
nasty.
The web jam was crazy.
Nasty, bro. You see those highlights all the time. I'm like, man, Brewers got to do that.
Now there's going to be a Brewer on those. Yes.
Hell yeah, dude. Elvis Peguero, one of his final few times pitching for the Brewers before he gets sent down. For now, I think he'll come back. Definitely.
He'll be back.
1 1/3, 1 K, no hits, no earned runs. Mears has been tremendous to start the season. He's been dominant.
Hell yeah. I have notes on him. I want to talk about Nick Mears because he's keeping his fastball on the edges and his slider at the bottom of the zone, and it drops. It just drops out of the zone. Like, if you're a left-handed batter and you see Nick Mears' slider and it looks like it's going to hit the outside corner away from you on the right-handed side of the batter's box, and then it almost hits you in the back of the foot while you're swinging, like, that's insane. And then he also paints 98 on the edges.
I really like Nick Mears. The thing about Nick Mears that I noticed the most, it's a little quirky, but you ever see those pictures of like the pitchers when they're throwing and they're making like the weird faces and stuff, and like when you're watching them, it doesn't look like they're throwing it that hard. Nick Mears literally looks like he's throwing it that hard every time he throws the ball. Like he puts his whole body into it. He just looks like he's throwing it hard every freaking time. But also another guy who's been tremendous to start the season is Jared Koenig. He was good in this game as well. 1 inning, 1 K, same exact stats as Mears. And then Grant Anderson ate up 2 innings for the Brewers in a game where they didn't want to use Jake Bauers again because they used him a couple times already this year. This win secured the first series win in Colorado since 2018, which is literally insane to think about.
Yeah.
Little bit of notes from this game. Terang extended his hitting streak to 12. The Brewers' franchise record for a hitting streak to open the season is 13 by Dickie Thorne in 1993.
So close.
I know. They went 8 for 14 with runners in scoring position. That is mind-boggling to think about. They had 3 home runs, one from Yelly, Chourio, and Contreras. They had RBIs from Yelly, Hoskins, Contreras, Terang, Ortiz, Mitchell, Chourio, and Dunn. I mean, that is just a laundry list of people. And Chourio, according to the Brewers, became the 4th player to have these stats that I'm about to present to you in 3 straight games. He joined Lou Gehrig, Babe Ruth, and Shohei Ohtani. 3 straight games. He had 3 home runs, 2 doubles, 6 extra base hits, 12 RBIs, and a stolen base. He is one of 4 players in baseball history to do that. He's good.
To be mentioned in the same sentence as Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, and Shohei Ohtani, like, you don't have a more elite list of players than that.
Agreed.
There's not a 3-player group that you could pick that's more elite than those 3.
Yeah, he's insane.
So you mentioned Chourio. He also extended his hitting streak to 11 in this game. He was 0-5 in the season opener, and people were like, oh my God, is Chourio bad?
Yeah.
That's why I brought up that the first 6 games of the season accounted for 4% of the entire year.
Yeah.
So now we are much farther into the season, but I mean, you brought up the Brewers offense and you gave all the individuals, but the Brewers offense put up 2 5-run innings.
Shopify is a global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business and sell more with less effort thanks to the Shopify magic. Your AI-powered all-star. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/redcircle, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/redcircle now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/Red Circle.
And then a 7-run inning for good measure, and all 9 players had a hand in the scoring. Walks, reaching on errors, Christian Yelich hitting an absolute nuke of a home run that was called 465, but if you look it up on Yahoo, it says 478 feet.
What?
Yeah. That was an absolute nuke by Christian Yelich. If that was hit in July, it would probably be a 500-footer.
I mean, dog literally lost it in the forest. So, I mean, that's crazy.
110.6 miles an hour off the bat for Christian Yelich. That is a disgustingly hard hit ball.
Yeah, it is.
Speaking of really good sliders with Nick Mears, Grant Anderson's got a really nice slider. I'm going to talk about it again today. So he threw some really nice sliders. The bullpen, 5 1/3 scoreless innings. The only 2 hits were given up by Anderson. The 17 runs that the Brewers scored was the most since they scored 19 against the Pirates on July 1st, 2022. And I have it in my notes in the margins right here. Rhys Hoskins starting to see the ball really well. He just missed a couple doubles, just foul in this game, but had several long at-bats. So I just want to say, I think I know ball.
You know ball.
Rhys Hoskins looks pretty good the last couple days. The last thing I wanted to say on the game 2 against the Rockies is Joey Ortiz was on base 5 times. He had 2 hits, 3 walks. Really good to see Joey Ortiz on base. And then going into the 3rd game of the Rockies series, this was the one the Brewers lost, but we got to see Quinn Priester's debut. You got ahead 0-2, gave up a 1-2 solo home run, and then threw some really good four-seam fastballs, sinkers, and one really nice changeup in the 1st inning. In the 2nd inning, his slider looked really good. He pitched 5 innings. The only run that he gave up was that leadoff home run. Had 72 pitches in his Brewers debut. 5 hits, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks. Pretty solid start. The arsenal is absolutely there, and I wrote down that I was looking forward to his next start, which was last night, which we'll talk about when we get there. Top of the 4th, the Brewers got the bases loaded with nobody out. Joey Ortiz hit a really hard line drive. No complaints there. Oliver Dunn, we need a ball in play. I mentioned this last week with Christian Yelich and William Contreras, who struck out with guys on base. The ball just needs to be in play. I'm going to give credit to somebody else for doing exactly that. And then Eric Haas was a really tough at-bat to watch 2 94-mile-an-hour fastballs go by and then swing at 2 sliders that were breaking away from him. That was tough. That was tough to watch in the 4th inning. I've seen Jake Bowers have some similar at-bats, and it's like, don't love that.
You're right.
It is what it is. Jackson Chourio extended his hitting streak to 11 in the 8th inning. And in that 8th inning, the grounded into a double play with bases loaded and nobody out. Again, that's tough. And then the bottom, Payamps didn't have his best slider and ran into Brenton Doyle, who was super hot. So
yeah,
it is what it is. I'm not doing this again. We're not doing the DFA Payamps cut him. Like, we're not doing that. He had a 3.05 ERA last year.
Yeah.
Zoom out if you're worried about him.
Yeah, it would be fine.
All right. What stood out to you from the 3rd game of the Rockies series?
Yeah, so a few things. I wrote down Terang, 0 for 5, unable to tie franchise record. He was so close. He's still on fire, still a tremendous player.
Yep.
I wrote down about Chourio extending his hitting streak to 12 on an infield single in the 8th, so love that. Those are good things that you take away from the game. And I wrote down the Brewers offense had its opportunities. This game wasn't lost because of it. They had bases loaded in the 4th and 8th, just like you said, and they only got 2 runs out of those situations. So I mean, you got to get more than 2 runs in bases loaded, 2 separate bases loaded situations. Now, I've seen a lot of people kind of being, obviously being, Debbie Downers. And talking about the Brewers they suck with bases loaded, they suck with runners in scoring position. Like, I literally saw people say that the Brewers suck with runners in scoring position a day after they went 8 for 14 with runners in scoring position. Just because they went 1 for 13 the day after, dude, doesn't mean they fucking suck. That's literally the law of averages. I don't know how many times we have to say this. It's ridiculous. But another positive thing I did take away from this is Contreras with another RBI, 3rd straight game with an RBI, so he's starting to heat up at this point. So, like you said, Priester, he looked pretty good. I think that I think he has a chance, dude. This guy's like not a nobody. He's a former top 100, first rounder. Like he's been looked at as a guy, and now he has the Brewers pitching lab get their hands on him, and he's going to turn into a dude. Like he's just going to turn out to be good. Like there's no stopping it. You might as well just enjoy the ride. He's just going to turn out to be good. It is what it is. Yeah, I was gonna have some thoughts on Piamps too, but you took care of it. We're not doing this again.
Yep. Just move on.
Yep.
All right, so let's go to the Diamondbacks series. Brewers playing in Arizona. First game, pretty good. You go into Arizona against a good team and shut them out in their building. Love that. I will say this. Top of the fourth inning is exactly why I hate bunting, because you're making it out on purpose with one of the fastest guys in the league on second base. So Rhys Hoskins hits a double. Sal Frelick hits a hustle double, and it's 1-0 Brewers. And Sal Frelick is standing on second base, and Joey Ortiz bunts him to third. Like, you have, like I said, one of the fastest players in the league standing on second base. Any ball that touches grass, he's going to score. Any ball that touches grass, he's going to score. But you sacrifice an out, and then Isaac Collins pops out and Vinny Capra flies out.
Yeah, we need those two to step up a little bit, in my opinion.
Like, the making an out on purpose, I can't wrap my head around it. Unless you only need one run, it does not make sense. And unless you are in the bottom of the ninth or the bottom of extra innings, you want more than one run. So I still can't. I can't get behind the making outs on purpose. I understand when you get into like squeeze plays and stuff like that there's a little bit more strategy to it, but a guy on second base and nobody out, like, just let your guys bat.
Yeah, Duke could literally ground out to the second baseman and the same thing happens. At least he got to swing the bat.
Yeah, and with that, I understand that there's still the opportunity on bunts to make errors and stuff like that, but like I said, any ball that touches outfield grass, Sal Frelick is scoring.
Yep.
And even if it's a single that Sal has to freeze on because he might get caught, and Sal Frelick, then you still have first and third with nobody out.
You're right.
And even grounding into a double play still produces a run.
Yep.
If Joey Ortiz flies out, that still advances the runner. Like, there's still tons of scenarios where the runner advances without being like, yes, we are trying to make an out on purpose.
Right.
So, in that, I just don't like it. Now, the very interesting to see the Brewers' zone contact percentages versus the Diamondbacks starter in this game. Against the changeup, it was 71%. Jeez. Against their cutter, it was 80. Four-seam fastballs, it was 90. Sinkers and sliders, it was 100. So the Brewers averaged contact on 87% of their zone swinging.
Damn.
So pitches they swung at in the zone, they made contact on 87%.
That's impressive.
That was awesome. And then their outside the zone contact, pitches they swung at outside the strike zone, they made contact on 69%.
Of course, when I water.
So this game also, Jackson Chourio extended his hitting streak to 13, the longest hitting streak of his young career so far. And the other two things that we got, first of all, Trevor McGill came in well rested, throwing gas. We'll get to Trevor McGill more in the future. And then the last thing I want to end on is Jose Quintana's debut. What a debut to go 7 scoreless, 4 hits, 2 strikeouts, no walks, 2 ground into double plays, and a pickoff. He did a great job keeping his breaking stuff low in the zone. He's not going to blow hitters away with his stuff. He is all about his location and mixing his pitches, and it's good to see him doing it for us and not against us.
100%.
All right, what did you take away from Brewers Diamondbacks game 1?
Yeah, I'm just going to jump right on the Jose Quintana train. He joins an illustrious list of pitchers to beat all 30 teams. He's now the 24th pitcher ever on the live ball era, and he's one of 5 current pitchers to beat all 30 teams: Verlander, Scherzer, Charlie Morton, Garrett Cole, and now the newest Brewer, Jose Quintana. Well, can't say newest anymore because there's another guy who's new, and he's pretty good. And we saw him play in Appleton last year. All 4 of the hits that he gave up were singles. I did write down about the double plays and the picked off runners. What's amazing is they were actually talking to Contreras after the game about how this was the 8th different starter in only 14 games, which is crazy. Last year, they told Contreras that last year the team tied a team record with 17 different starters, and which Contreras responded, said, "We're on our way."
Yeah.
And I love that quote.
I think they've already had 8 or 9 this year now, or 10.
He was the 8th. Quintana was the 8th different starter.
Sheesh.
Well, you got to think Tobias Myers is coming back.
Yeah.
Big Lou's coming back.
I was gonna say Logan Henderson's gonna make a start.
Logan Henderson, he's probably gonna make the start of the 20th.
He's probably starting on Sunday.
Yeah. So because they originally had the start listed, but now that's TBD. Yeah. I mean, they're going to get up to 11, 12, 13 again pretty easily.
Before April ends.
Which is nuts. So I want people to realize that. And it really made me take a step back and be like, man, I don't think people are giving enough credit to Contreras for having to deal with all these different kinds of pitchers. Sure. Different ages, different pitch styles, different arm angles, lefties, righties, I mean, Quintana, what is he in, his 14th year, 15th year, something like that? 14. Yeah, and then, damn, that was good. I literally didn't know.
Nice.
I just knew it was a long time. And he played for 5, 6 different teams. But, he's dealing with all these different guys, and he's still raking on the offensive end. So, I mean, give Contreras credit. This is why people call him the best catcher in baseball. And rightfully so. He's earned that title.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, I wanted people to understand what William Contreras is going through when people are giving him a hard time at the plate. He's dealing with a lot of shit on his own end, and he's a competitor. He shows up every single day and does his job.
And he wants to catch every day. He doesn't like being the DH. He wants to catch every single day.
I know. I love Willie Contreras. I hope they can get a deal done and lock him up for 5 years or 6 years or something like that so he can stay in Milwaukee for a while. But, that's a conversation for a different day. But I wanted people to give, respect to Contreras for what he's doing.
I like it. All right, so Game 2 and Game 3 has some similarities in the fact that not being able to tack on insurance runs kind of came back to bite them.
Yeah.
And this one is obviously – the McGill and Piamps blowing the save, blowing the lead, but it did come out after the game that Trevor McGill has been having some knee discomfort, did have an MRI. He didn't use it as an excuse. He said he just couldn't find the strike zone. He was pitching for the second day in a row. So, it's one of those situations where you use him in a game where you're hoping to not need him, but you also need to get him some work. So the Brewers kind of had an awkward thing this year.
Yep.
Where they've had some blowout wins, and then they've had some tough losses, sometimes right after each other.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in this Diamondback series. But going through the starters, Chad Patrick dealt with a fair amount of traffic, but did get 2 different types of double plays. He threw some really great changeups, did a really good job of keeping all of his pitches from the same release point, which I think is a really big deal for pitchers. It makes it harder to read what type of pitch they're throwing. It makes it harder on batters when every single pitch is coming from the same release point, from the same spot, versus if you see a guy, his arm angle is a little bit lower, then you're like, oh, yep, now I know he's throwing a slider, or if it's coming more over the shoulder, it's like, okay, it's fastball. That's the type of stuff that hitters pick up on. So to throw every pitch from the same release point, that's like a veteran next level type thing for your process.
Yep.
Chad Patrick became the first starter in franchise history to allow fewer than 3 runs across his first 3 starts. Only allowed 1 earned run in his first 3 starts as a Milwaukee Brewer.
Nice.
So the guy that won the AAA Triple Crown, he looks pretty good. Looks pretty good in Major League Baseball so far. And Jackson Chourio extended his hitting streak to 14 with a 448-foot, 110-mile-an-hour exit velocity home run that was absolutely crushed. And you asked me what my favorite part about it was, and it was Corbin Burns turning and watching it and just going,
"Yep,"
just throwing his hands in the air. That was
what did I say? What did I say right after that? I said that was also my favorite part, dude. I love that.
Yeah, so those are my main takeaways from the second game of the Diamondback series. I'm not worried about McGill and Piamps; they'll be fine.
Yeah, so I'm actually just gonna first of all I'm gonna say Jackson Choyo, guy's a superstar, dude. That was amazing. As soon as he swung the bat and the bat hit the ball, I was like, oh yeah,
Everybody in the stadium and watching knew that was a home run. Up to
goodbye.
and including Corbin Burns.
I mean, Corbin Burns literally barely let go of the ball. Didn't even get a chance to do the hair thing that he usually does. Yeah, he crushed it. We had them scoreless for 17 straight innings. And Murphy was asked about this after the game, and he said, you know what? After the Brewers extended the lead from 3-0 to 4-0, so McGill didn't pitch for an entire week. Like you said, they used him in the 7-0 game. He pitched 20 pitches in that game, and when you're a closer, 20 pitches, you kind of have to start watching how many pitches you throw. So 20 pitches is quite a bit actually for a closer. So he was like, you know what, might be one where we could play it safe. He said it was unanimous across all the coaches all the bench coaches, all 7 of them. He said they were like, yep, let's put Payamps up there. It's 4-0. We could trust Payamps come in, and that's just how it goes sometimes in baseball, especially, and the Diamondbacks are not a bad team. They're a good team, especially at home. They're young, they're exciting. They got going a little bit, and sometimes things just snowball, and that's just what happens. And it's a little bit heartbreaking, but it is what it is, man. I had a lot of the same takeaways, although I did want to give credit to Hoskins for getting back on the RBI train. So I love seeing that.
All right. So game 3, similarly, the Brewers jump out to a 2-0 lead against a good pitcher, this one against Zach Gallen. And they get a 2-run home run, or a 2-out home run from William Contreras in the first inning. Mm-hmm. And that was it for scoring. They did what I appreciated was seeing that after the first 3 innings, that Zach Gallen was already at 52 pitches. So I'm like, cool, the Brewers are going to get into the Diamondbacks bullpen, get Zach Gallen out of the game, and they just weren't able to tack on any runs. Didn't have a lot of traffic after that. Only 1 runner on base for several of the final 4 or 5 innings, and just not tacking on runs. Kind of just came back to hurt them. Obviously, you're not going to expect to win a lot of games with 2 runs. That's why the Brewers adopted a more aggressive offensive style under Pat Murphy, was to score more than 2 or 3-1. Try not to win 2-1 or 3-2, but to try to be able to win more games like 4-0, 5-1, 5-2, stuff like that.
Yep.
So that's what they need. Seeing William Contreras hitting 3 home runs in the last 6 games on the road. This one was 108 mile an hour exit velocity, snuck it over the wall, but it was an absolute laser home run. Just a definition of a frozen rope home run.
It didn't go very high. You're right. That one left the bat at probably pretty close to the same height that it went over the wall.
for sure. And it led to him being named the NL Player of the Week, which is awesome to see. So good for William Contreras after kind of a slow start to the season.
Yeah.
Now, Freddie Peralta in the first inning gave up a bloop double. Sal Frelick almost had a web gem on it, just popped out of his glove. Then he just goes straight at Naylor for a 3-pitch strikeout with a changeup and 2 fastballs.
Yep.
Love seeing that from Brewers pitchers challenging good hitters. Like I brought it up with Aaron Judge in the Yankee series. To be in a little bit of trouble, a little bit of traffic, and go at good hitters, I love it. Freddie pitched into the 6th, only got 1 out. The 4 walks is the same that he had in his first 3 starts total, and 7 walks in the last 2 games. So those kind of ticked up for Freddie, which I think what led to his shorter start.
Yeah. So in terms of Freddie, the last 2 walks are really the one that hurt him, because he ended up having a wild pitch, which moved the runner over. He had back-to-back walks, and they had a sac fly, which ended up tying the game. And then you get to the situation with Brian Hudson and Gruchek at the plate. And Gruchek is a guy that I wrote down on my list as a guy that I wanted the Brewers to try to trade for last year when he was on the Rockies, or a couple of years ago. Excuse me. But he kills lefties. And this is when the Brewers were struggling with lefties, and I was like, yeah, dude, we need to get this guy. So the Brewers make a decision, like, let's walk this guy. We have a left-handed pitcher, and this guy kills lefties. I don't know about you, but that seems like a pretty good decision to me. Yep. Don't let that guy have an advantage over our guy. It's kind of how that works. And then, you have Naylor up there, and Naylor is a good player in his own right, dude.
He really is. He was an all-star last year, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, he was on a good Cleveland team that made a run last year. So his first year in Arizona. So, I mean, he's a good player. He saw a pitch over the middle of the plate and he hit it hard. That's just the end of the story right there. And sometimes when there's good players, two good players going at it, because Hudson's obviously a good player in his own right. He had a good year last year and he's having a good year so far this year. Sometimes it happens, man. We just talked about it in basketball. Sometimes you do the getting and sometimes you get got, and that's just what it is, right? Yeah. And this is just one of those situations where Naylor won the battle. It happens, dude. And I just can't deal with whiny cry babies online anymore.
All right, so we can get out of the Diamondback series, and the Brewers talked about being kind of frustrated with those second and third games, not being able to tack on offense. Yeah. And then you get to face Tariq Skubal.
Fun time, said nobody ever.
Yeah, and Vinny Rottino said it during the game multiple times that Tariq Skubal is the best pitcher in baseball, and I strongly agree. He was the AL Cy Young winner last year, and right now, I don't think there's a pitcher in baseball that I would take over Tariq Skubal.
Dude, his changeup
is an absolute monster.
Changeup is disgusting.
He is amazing. Any good thing that you will say about Tariq Skubal, it's true. Mm-hmm. So this game became kind of a tip your cap game because he's legit. I mean, he was perfect through the first 4 innings. Even the 5th inning, Rhys Hoskins got a single and then 3 groundouts immediately after that. The Brewers really didn't kind of get to him until the 6th when they had a couple of 1-out singles and a 2-out single. But Skubal's tough. Pretty much you tip your cap. And then for the Brewers, pitching and defensively, the first 2 runs allowed by Alexander were mistakes on 0-2 pitches. It was twice in the first inning. And I don't know if it was because he was sensing his pitch count ticking up, but he threw some 0-2 pitches right in the wheelhouse for a couple hitters. And they took advantage. And it led to a couple doubles and 2 runs. And then ended up costing him more pitches. And then you get to the second 2 runs, came on an error by Joey Ortiz. Should have had a double play, and then it extended the inning and allowed 2 more runs to score. The next pair of runs also came off of an error. I mean, it should have been like a 5-run game instead of an 8-run game. But thankfully, I will say Elvin Rodriguez was there to mop up the flood. He pitched 5 innings, only gave up 1 more run. So, some mistake 0-2 pitches and errors. And like you said, things can snowball. And then you're facing Tariq Skubal on the other side.
Yeah. So things that I took away from this game. First thing I wrote, I am praying to the baseball gods that the Tigers open up the freaking pocketbook and just pay Skubal. Do not allow him to go to the Dodgers, please. Please, I'm begging you. I literally would rather him go to the Yankees. They cannot keep getting away with this.
Please just keep him away from LA or New York.
Please. I don't have a problem with him in Detroit. I really don't.
No,
I could cheer from him from afar.
Yeah, we only see him once a year, twice a year. So even with more interleague games, we're still barely going to see him. And if we see him in the playoffs, it's going to be in the World Series. So I'm okay with it.
I'll still probably be pretty happy at that point, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
The other thing I wrote is Alexander didn't pitch his best game. Rodriguez hasn't been his best since coming up to the Brewers. But you know what? They saved the bullpen. They both 8-9 innings together. This is just one of them. Like you said, man, you give up 9 runs and some of them defensive errors. You're facing one of the best pitchers in baseball, probably the best right now, especially in the AL, maybe overall. You just take this one on the chin and move on to tomorrow is really all I wrote down.
It might be a hot take, but I would take Tariq Skubal over Paul Skeens right now.
That's a really good discussion, dude. I'm not disagreeing with it.
Close second, but
it's got to be close. And I'm not saying I disagree, but I'm not just going to say like I 100% agree without seeing some numbers. But I mean, both of them are obviously tremendous in their own right.
All right. Anything else you want to say on the first game of the series?
Nah. I mean, I didn't enjoy watching a Detroit team beat up on a Wisconsin team, but besides that,
this is one of those. Thankfully, they're in a different league division, so it doesn't feel like a rivalry at all.
Yeah.
Not like basketball and football. So go to game 2 now. Quinn Priester, dog, rolled
Yeah.
through the first 4 innings, retired 12 out of 13 batters, only had 1 walk. In the 5th inning, had 2 more walks, and Murphy gave him a shot at the 6th inning. He gave up a double to the leadoff hitter on the 3rd time through the order. But he pitched great. 5 innings, only the 1 hit was the leadoff double in the 6th inning. Did have the 3 walks, so there's a little bit of work to be done there. And had 4 strikeouts. Now, he kept his breaking stuff low through a few outside of a few changeups. His breaking stuff was low. I went and looked. So this is why I was okay with the Brewers trading for a guy who was maybe not, jumping off the page with his numbers, but his prospect stuff was, that he had good curveball, good fastballs and stuff. Looking at his usage so far in his first 2 games with the Brewers compared to how Boston and Pittsburgh used him last year is interesting. So far, this game he threw 40.5% sinkers. Boston and Pittsburgh had him throwing 30. So he's throwing 10% more sinkers. He threw 9.5% changeups. Last season it was 12.7, so a little bit down. He threw 23.8% sliders. That's down about 5% from 27.9 last year with Boston and Pittsburgh. He threw 8.3% curveballs, down about 6% from 14.5% last year, and did not throw a single 4-seam fastball last night against the Tigers.
Interesting.
And he was throwing those at a 13.6% rate last year with the Red Sox and Pirates. Also last year, he was throwing 1.1% cutters. In last night's game, he threw 17.5% cutters.
Interesting.
So the Brewers upped his sinker usage, massively cut down his 4-seam usage, threw a big uptick in his cutter usage, and are using his off-speed stuff just a little bit less. So they're making Quinn Priester less of a big bag of mixed pitches.
Yeah.
More into a sinker, slider, cutter with a couple changeups mixed in, and the occasional curveball.
I mean, it makes sense to me. That makes sense.
It's honestly, it's what they've done with a lot of their pitchers this year. They're throwing a lot of fastballs in general. So I'm very interested to see what Tobias Myers looks like when he gets up.
Yeah.
To see if they're going to continue with that. And the 2 other things that I took away from Quinn Priester actually came from his post-game interview. And the first one is that he's already calling Chris Hook Hookie. Like he's been here for a week and a half, and he's already calling the pitching coach by his nickname.
Yeah.
And it goes to my second point, and I wrote this in bold, in all caps in my notebook, that the first thing that he gave credit to when asked about what's made it so quick for him to acclimate here is the guys in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
We have been on this train for probably 2 years, if not 3, that as a small market team in a system that is not fair financially, that the biggest asset that the Milwaukee Brewers have is their people. We have said it over and over and over again. The biggest advantage that small market teams have is their people. It's the people in the clubhouse, and it's the people in the stands. You might not think it matters, but in the grand scheme of things, it does. Baseball players talk about liking the people in Milwaukee in the stadium. They talk about it. It matters. People notice. And that's why we believe in the way that we conduct ourselves, the way that we behave as Wisconsin sports fans. It's important.
Yeah.
If you have a choice between, playing for the Packers or playing for the Rams, you're going to willingly accept playing in the cold in January versus playing in LA. What's going to make that difference for you? People, culture, stuff like that. That stuff matters. That people are going to choose, to play in Milwaukee where it's going to be cold in April. Granted, the Brewers very smartly have a retractable roof that they don't get to use at the end of March and the beginning of April because they're going to keep having them playing in Chicago and New York when it's 35 degrees outside. But, you're choosing to play somewhere cold versus, say, playing for the Angels, where it's LA and it's nice outside all the time.
Mm-hmm.
People matter when it comes to stuff like this. So seeing him say that in his post-game interview, the first thing that he brought up, I appreciated it. Now, after Priester, the bullpen was great. Koenig, Uribe, Mears, and Anderson combined for 4 innings pitched. No hits, no walks, 6 Ks. Just, shutting everything down.
Yeah.
2 things. 7th inning, yes, the error helped, but it was good to see the Brewers string some hits together. Same with the bottom of the 4th inning. Garrett Mitchell and Joey Ortiz, 2 2-out hits to manufacture a run. And I want to give Garrett Mitchell credit for the 2nd inning. Sal Frelick pulls a triple, and Garrett Mitchell, he got down, I believe, 0-2. And then still a 2-strike count, hit a ball, just a lazy fly ball to left field, fly out, lazy fly out, but Sal Frelick was able to score off of it. 2 weeks ago, I brought it up with Christian Yelich and William Contreras, and just now I brought it up with Oliver Dunn. Just put the ball in play. Just put the ball in play. That's all you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to give Garrett Mitchell credit for doing that. He just put the bat on the ball, had a lazy fly out to the left fielder, and he got an RBI for it. That's a good at-bat. That's a good thing to do. Like I said, baseball, the great players fail 70% of the time.
Yeah.
So to be able to do it productively and to still be able to drive in a run instead of just striking out, that's good to do. I wanted to give him credit for it. So what were your takeaways from last night's game?
Yeah, Priester was absolutely dominant. His first 2 starts with the Brewers, he pitched versus the Rockies last week. He pitched versus the Tigers last night. 1 run over his first 2 starts is phenomenal. I was setting myself up for this moment, saying that he's going to be good. So it doesn't matter what you do, the guy's going to be good. I'm really glad that you were able to lay out all the pitches and the usage and stuff. So that gives context to people who are watching the game to be like, okay, this is what I got to watch out for because I heard it from these 2 smart, good-looking guys on Wednesday night.
That's what the pitching lab does. That's why they take guys that have good stuff, Nick Mears, and they make them look better than their numbers suggested that they were.
Yeah.
That's why I'm never going to doubt the pitching lab because they've done it over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, they made that trade, and both of our reactions were the same. We're like, well, I guess we get to see if they can work magic again. And it looks – and so far so good. I mean, knock on wood. But so far so good, it looks like they have. They know what they're doing.
Fire is another great example.
Yeah, and I can't wait for him to come back, dude. I loved him last year. He was so exciting.
Yeah, and now they're doing it with Chad Patrick. He was a throw-in a trade too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anything else you wanted to say on last night yet?
Yeah, just wanted to give a shout out to Logan Henderson, 12th ranked Brewers prospect. He got called up on the same day that.
Speaking of nasty changeups,
yeah, for real. Priester, dominated. Grant Anderson looked good again. Nick Mears looked good. Uribe continues to look really good. Now, I know people are kind of freaking out because of the ERA that the bullpen has in total, but there have been a few dudes who have looked like some monsters to start this season. So I'm not in the least worried. Brewers won this one 5-0. It was their 4th shutout of the year already. I mean, we're
9 wins, 4 shutouts.
Yeah, so half our wins are literally from shutouts. And welcome back Rhys Hoskins to baseball as he hit his first home run of the year. So congrats to him.
That's a great carryover into today's game because he hit another one.
Dude,
and, it's good to see Rhys Hoskins back-to-back with a home run. That's why I had to throw out there that I saw it during the Rockies series that he looked like he was seeing the ball better and hitting the ball hard. And just, like I said, just foul from missing a couple of potential doubles. So I'll let you go first. Give your thoughts on today's game that happened, ended about an hour before the show started.
So Quintana, first of all, tremendous first 2 starts. Absolutely tremendous. Could not ask for anything better. He started his Brewers career with 13 straight scoreless innings before, giving up a homer late in this game. The only run that the Tigers actually scratched out in the last 2 games of the series. The Brewers They may have lost the first game 9-1, but they outscored them 10-1 the last 2 games.
Dude, I've said this 1,000 times.
Yep.
I will take a 20-0 loss in one game if it means winning the series.
Yeah, they literally, 100%. We've talked about this how many times?
I like run differential. I don't care about it. I would rather have more wins.
Right, exactly. So this has got to be the most Brewers thing of all time.
I know where you're going with this already.
This has got to be the most. A guy, okay, so the torpedo bat's been around for a while. They're big news. Got to be the most Brewers thing I've ever heard of in my entire life as I'm listening to this game on the radio. Garrett Mitchell gets a triple in the second. And
if you were listening on the radio, that means you didn't see it happen.
No.
Dude gets a triple, gets to third base, and starts dancing like a stripper at third base. I'm like, Garrett, settle down. Like there could be children present. Like, settle down, Garrett.
He's going crazy, bro. I got to see it now. No, I had to listen on the radio today as I was working, but then guy gets a torpedo bat. Obviously, it's like, better contact. You can hit the ball harder. You can hit it farther, all this stuff. Of course, he hits a freaking bunt that drives it. I'm like, dog, no, why is this happening? I was freaking out. I was like, there's no way he just bunted his first freaking at bat with this new bat, dude. That was insane to me. I was dying laughing, dude. I was like, no. Yelly hits a home run to add to the score 2-0. Hoskins then gets in on the action later in the inning, hitting a 2-run homer, making it 4-0. Quintana is just cruising at this point, by the way. Cruising through this game. Then in the 6th inning, Torkelson, who is up to 6 home runs now, by the way, which is pretty good pace at this point, gets a home run to center field. He got pretty much all of it. And then finally, Sal Frelick gets on the board with a home run. And my opinion on the Sal Frelick, when he gets home runs, he doesn't hit cheap ones, dude. He hits the damn ball. I mean, he either chops that son of a bitch into the ground or he hits it 400 feet. There is no in between with Sal Frelick. I mean,
hey, he pulls down the line.
He pulls down the line. He did have a couple doubles over the last 8 games. He does pull down the line, but it sure seems like he either chops that son of a bitch into the ground or he hits it 400 feet, dude. Like there's no gray area with this guy. You're getting what you're getting. Gold glove, home run, chopper into the ground, speed, toughness. I love Sal Frelick. He is the Pat Connaughton of this team. I love this guy, dude. I mean, that's pretty much all I got on there. Quintana has been a really nice breath of fresh air. Priester as well. This Brewers team, I mean, we've talked about it how many times. You were the first one to bring it up. If they can just stay afloat through April and May, and the calendar changes to May, this shit's really going to turn up, man. The pitching staff is going to get stabilized. These guys are going to be comfortable. We're going to be about a quarter way through the season at that point, and we're going to be feeling pretty good.
So you brought up Quintana. He did pitch well. Like there's no denying that. He pitched well. He did have kind of a rough first inning. He had a 26-pitch first inning, had multiple walks. 4 batters in a row, first 4 batters of the inning, all saw 3-2 counts. So there was a lot of work to do for him there. But did get a ground into a double play, only threw 22 pitches for his next 2 innings. And it was good. It was good. He finished well. His 100th pitch was a 2-out reach on error. Could have been his last out of the 6th inning. So he pitched 5 2/3. Mm-hmm. Could have been 6 if Rhys Hoskins just makes a little bit better of a throw. But just the 1 earned run, 4 hits, 4 strikeouts, did have 3 walks, all in the first inning. So he did settle in nicely after kind of a rough first inning. Grant Anderson, again, threw some really nasty sliders. Struck out Torkelson, who is, I would say, one of the current hardest hitting players in baseball, with 2 guys on and 2 out in the 7th inning. Again, I'm going to keep bringing it up when I see guys going after tough hitters in tough situations. I'm going to keep giving credit for that. Mm-hmm. The bullpen threw 3 1/3 innings, only needed 40 pitches. I feel good with the Brewers having an off day tomorrow, that they're going into the weekend with a well-rested bullpen. I feel good about that.
Yeah.
Don't look now. William Contreras is up to a 10-game hitting streak with his NL Player of the Week. Good to see William Contreras heating up. Christian Yelich had 3 hits in a row going from last night to his first 2 at-bats today, culminating in his 404-foot home run. That was, I think, 107 off the bat, the hardest hit of the game.
Mm-hmm.
After that, had 2 strikeouts looking with some absolutely trash strike calls.
Yeah,
especially his first at bat after the home run. It's like you would have thought this game was 14-0, not 4-0 with the strike zone that umpire had going. It was really annoying. And then after that was when the Tigers got their 1 run. And it's like, oh, cool. Now this is a 3-run ball game, and you spent the last half inning umpiring this game like the Brewers were up by 11 runs.
Right.
Dickhead. Anyways, Sal Frelick, his home run was the longest hit of the game at 408 feet. So, like you said, I mean, he doesn't hit cheap ones.
No.
So, good to see the Brewers again on the winning streak. And, we've seen some comments. People like, I hope the Brewers aren't going to be, floating around 500 all year. They just need to get through April. If they get through April around or slightly above 500, I'm good. Mm-hmm. Because Tobias Myers is making 1 more rehab start in Nashville, and then he's going to be up. So a week from now, we could be talking about the return of Tobias Myers.
Yeah, he's supposed to start versus the San Francisco Giants, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Brandon Woodruff is making a rehab appearance on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Not in Nashville. Mm-hmm. He's doing it in Appleton.
Mm-hmm.
Which leads me to believe that that's a 1-start rehab.
Mm-hmm.
Which the Brewers, over the next week, they have 3 games at home against the A's, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then they have 2, we will have the first 2 games of the at San Francisco Giants series.
Yep.
So Woodruff, I think it's possible that they have him make 2 starts in Appleton. But the fact that he's going to Appleton and not Nashville for his rehab suggests that they're keeping him close.
Well, if you think about it, they have 3 home games, like you said, then they play 4 on the road. Then they play 7. Yeah, they play on the road quite a bit. No, I was going to say
like a 10-game road trip.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe if they came back at home, it would make a lot of sense. But I don't know. That's interesting. Yeah, they play
so they have 3 games at home coming up this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
If they are leaving Milwaukee, are they bringing Woodruff along on the road trip?
Very well could. Give him some bullpen maybe in between, and then maybe see if he's ready to go after that. I can see it.
We should have Myers and Woody back by the end of April, and now we have Quintana here, and Quinn Priester looks like the real deal in his first 2 starts.
I agree.
We're trending upwards. The Brewers had kind of a rough series in Arizona, facing some good pitching, and then they came home and won a series. So if they can win at least 2 out of 3 from the A's, who have some really good, exciting young players, good for them. If Brewers can win 2 out of 3 and head on to their road trip, I'm feeling good.
Yeah, I agree.
Where the Brewers are at.
I agree.
All right. We will be back next week. We only have 5 Brewer games next week, and we will have only 2 Bucks games.
I know.
It's because the schedule is so dumb, dude. The NBA scheduling is the worst in professional sports. It's so bad.
So bad, dude.
Having like 18 back-to-backs, and then you're going to do Saturday, Tuesday, Friday.
Yeah.
And then Sunday at 8:30 at night.
I don't understand why they have 3 games, 3 days off, 1 day off. It just makes no sense to me, but whatever.
The NBA scheduling to me is ridiculous. It's so bad.
They need to use that couple that's been making the MLB schedule for the last 30 years.
I don't know. They need to get some AI in there or whatever, but just not a fan of the NBA scheduling. But like I said, we'll have 2 Bucks games, 4 or 5 Brewer games next week. So join us again. And then also join us Tuesday night. We're doing live mock drafts for the Packers because next Thursday, Friday, Saturday is the NFL draft in Green Bay.
Hell yeah.
So very exciting. So join us for that on Tuesday night, and then join us again here Wednesday, and we will see you next week.